We're live to another week of Dallas Beertalk, guys. That was a little weird stutter. I am your host, Victor Santana. I'm with Drew, beer guru himself, and he's taking the back seat this week because we have two beer specialists.
The real beer gurus, I would like to say.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start to my left over here because we have a brand new guest, Jennifer the Bearded Lady, all over Instagram, doing big things.
Yay!
Blowing it up.
Blowing it up. We have a talk about a bet that you lost.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring that up here in a little bit.
Okay.
It's a little sad, but
Yeah.
I understand. And then a person we talk about way too much on the show, and a brewery we talk about way too much on the show. Not a bad thing. We love you guys here. We have Kurt with
Carl.
Carl.
Oh my gosh.
Been drinking whiskey. Fuck you.
It's on the Cairo.
Yeah, it's on the screen.
So we have Carl from
Fuck you,
Manhattan
Ziggy.
Project.
Fuck you, Ziggy.
Yeah.
Let me finish. Anyway, Manhattan Project. We talk about you guys way too much. To the point where I have this at work. I have this glass at work, and I make my coffee with this.
Awesome, man.
I measure my coffee beans. It's kind of sad that I measure my coffee beans, but we do.
No, I feel you. I do the same thing. We're a pour over household. So
Thank you. Yes.
It's you can't go back once you go the pour over
Once you
route.
go pour
man.
over.
It just tastes so different.
I don't know what this is.
So
I'm a
coffee.
tea disclaimer. I'm a tea drinker. So.
Well, we could make you a coffee drinker. Me and Andrew started a ketogenic diet, and we tried to figure out where we could cut the most carbs and the most sugar out, and then coffee was part of it. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna do French press coffee, and I learned how to do really good French press coffee. But as I got deeper into the coffee world, I found out about Chemex and pour over methods of coffee, which takes a lot of the bitterness and the oils of it that makes it bitter in your coffee. And once you start drinking that, you can't go back to a regular cup of coffee.
It's so smooth. So smooth.
So you get the pure coffee flavor.
Yeah, we do Kalita, but yeah,
it's the same
similar,
thing. Yeah, very similar. And we do it every day at work. And then we tried a few experiments at work where, I say experiments, not really scientific. It's all about taste. Where we did same coffee bean as a Chemex and then as
French
French
press.
press and see which one we liked more. And they're like, once you go Chemex style, you can't go back. There's no bitterness to it.
There's some. So I like a lot of Ethiopian coffees. They have a lot of floral notes to them. And
You just
and I think
You guys are
those
dying
do
over
really well in the French press. Actually, I think
Yeah.
a lot of that comes through in the French press. Yeah, if I'm going more middle, Central American, then yeah, definitely the pour over.
I feel like
Such a craft to this.
I mean, they have an ongoing theme of calling me a hipster on the show.
He's a hipster in the closet. He's waiting to show himself to the world as the true hipster that he is.
I am.
So.
I protest this, but what we have discovered that when you have a cheap bean or middle of the road kind of bean, and this is a beer show. We're gonna get to the beer.
This is Dallas Coffee Talk. Welcome everybody.
But I feel like the middle of the beans, Chemex, will hide a lot of the bitter flavors and the cheap flavors with it because it's just a very smooth, clear cup of coffee. You don't get a lot of the bitter notes, and you get some of the roasted notes, especially if they over roast it. You can kind of taste it, but it just still makes it easy to drink, especially if you're drinking it black. It is no problem. But I feel like with Ethiopian, it's just Fresh Prince or the Chemex version of it, it's just smooth.
Yeah,
it's just super smooth.
Smooth coffee.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, this actually kind of makes a good segue because we hadn't decided what beer to have first.
No.
And one of our beers here today has coffee in it.
Perfect.
So
which one?
Completely so Black Matter. It should be the unlabeled one right here.
Did you do Chemex thing? I'm just kidding.
Chemex did it.
No, so we've been talking about because we're all coffee fans as well, and so we've been talking about
I was really sad. I was struggling over here trying to open it.
Oh, it's on there pretty tight. But no, so we use a pretty dark roast in this. So this is the coffee that is in here is not something that you'd probably. It's more of a French or Italian roast kind of in that way, just because you really want some of those roast flavors to come through. But yeah, no, we've been toying around with the idea and saying, how could we take some of this, Ethiopian coffees that have these really interesting floral notes and maybe match that with you know,
Thank you.
with some different hops that have some of that same kind of floral, fruity character, and do like a lighter, you know, lighter profile beer where the coffee shines through a little bit more.
So, what ABV is the Black Matter coming in at?
This is, I believe it is 8.4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm terrible about memorizing ABV.
Listen, I just called you by the wrong name. I have a horrible memory.
Oh, that's right.
I think you need to pass that hat over here, and then you've not earned the hat today.
I infamously say the wrong thing all the time.
He does. He had a ex coworker that he used to. He always say Chelsea or Kelsey, and he would say that every day. I
Well,
think pretty much when he talked to her.
Little backstory to this. You remember Rush Hour 2 or Rush Hour with Chris Tucker?
Yeah.
There's the blooper scenes to it, and he's trying to say Kelsey Clinton,
Yeah.
and he keeps calling her Chelsea.
No,
called-
it's Chelsea Clinton. He's trying to say Kelsey.
Oh, whatever, same shit. He keeps fucking the name up.
He did it. Yeah, he is
Yeah,
Chris
Fucks
Tucker.
the name up. Anyway,
Yeah, you had me kind of confused. You're like, he was trying to say Kelsey Clinton.
whatever.
And I was like,
Who's Kelsey Clinton?
I mess up all the time.
Yeah,
To the point where I even mixed beers with the wrong brewery, and I
Oh,
have
yeah.
this live on the show.
yeah,
Nice.
that's happened before.
Nice.
Ziggy was
That
there.
happened
He's looking at me the whole time like,
Wrong one. Cut.
What
But-
are you doing?
Well, let's give this a try.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some Black
so,
Matter.
Yeah, Black Matter. It's got
Cheers.
it's a
Cheers, everyone.
coffee. It's got a little oatmeal, cinnamon, vanilla.
Prost.
Cheers.
Okay, yeah. You're definitely.
absolutely delicious.
That was delicious. I can instant vanilla. That was delicious.
Yeah,
I like
try
that.
trying to keep it all kind of subtle and balanced. That's one of the hard things about, especially when you start getting into adjuncts, right? When you start start adding cinnamon, start adding vanilla, coffee. You know, you add a little bit, and you're like, man, that's good. And you want to add a little bit more, and you just, you gotta the restraint, man, keeping the restraint, keeping everything in balance. I think it's, initially like if there was more vanilla in this and more cinnamon in this, I mean, maybe that first sip would just, you'd be like, wow, but then. The fourth sip or the fifth sip, you're like, okay, this is just too much.
Kind of overpowering.
Tiresome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we try to keep a little restraint on it to where you can get through the glass and not be kind of tired of it by the time you get to the bottom. So.
Man, this is part of the reason why we talk about you a lot. I don't try to compare you guys to any other brewery, but what I do try to compare is what I enjoy in a beer. I like a really balanced beer. That's my big problem with IPAs. It's not well balanced. A lot of them is not well balanced. And it's just one flavor or the other that's really overpowering, and it bothers me. It bothers my way it smells, about the way it tastes, and it's not a bad beer. It's just irritating to my taste buds. And what I appreciate about you guys and why we bring you up constantly is because the attention to detail of balancing it from start to finish.
Well, yeah,
That's very important.
I mean, we love hops, but I mean, bitterness is just one aspect of hops, and it's not necessarily our favorite. The different flavors and aromas, and I mean, it's all over. Jennifer can probably get more into some different flavors, but yeah, I think all the way from citrus to melon to really kind of piney and
resiny, floral.
floral. Yeah, so
It can change so much. It's so good. I love hops.
I'm
I
a
love
hophead.
hops.
I'm
I
He
love
calls
hops.
himself a hophead all the time, but as far as this beer, what do you think about?
I think it's great, and I like how I would love to warm it up a little bit with my hands.
Let those
'cause
flavors shine through.
It's gonna shine through. But the initial one, have you had a warm beer? Do you? Okay, I was like, I
Yeah.
know you're the newer beer drinker. It's like
No,
nice
I
to
am the
warm them
new.
up
I'm the
to-
newer beer drinker. So part of the show is him teaching me, and then
Yeah.
running to people like you and running to people like you and learning more. Like I ask questions just honestly because I don't know shit.
Mhm.
And what we have learned, especially that, and not to segue back to coffee, but try to get a good coffee blend is like there's once this cools down, you get more room temperature, you get more of the notes that you're expecting. And I just appreciate
That's exactly what will happen with this beer in a little bit. And that's one beautiful thing about beer is you have the first 2 or 3 sips. There you taste all the different flavors, and when you actually know you like the beer is at the fourth or fifth. Because that's when everything kind of settles down and you're starting to taste everything and exactly like you're balancing out. You balance this out perfectly. You can't have that too cinnamon, too vanilla, but really at the 4th or 5th. And a lot of times for sours and stuff like that, the first one's like and
Too
then,
much.
yeah, you're like
It kinda
pucker
mellows
up.
out in you,
And then once you have the 4th or 5th, then and luckily, or not
once
luckily, but
your
amazingly,
saliva glands have calmed down a little bit.
not going on fire. and it all changes. I just love that about beer. It just changes during the whole entire process. Of drinking it.
I never thought
love
about it
it.
like that. That's why you're better than me in this. FY, what do you think about it, Drew?
I think it's great. I definitely get a lot of the coffee flavor, and then it have like real chocolatey notes to it.
It does.
That's what I'm getting. But I've had it before. I'm a big Manhattan Project fan, so yeah, it's always good. But he brings us that fresh stuff, so you know, you get it right here. he just handed
the
it right
spigot?
before, yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually did. I went to
yeah.
I went to the brewery before this and filled up this growler from a keg and brought it over here. So,
Beautiful.
Ah,
So
can't
everyone
get-
out there, this is as fresh as it gets. All right.
Can't get any fresher.
So yeah, you guys are working on the brewery. Coming up,
good
right?
segue. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just to kind of get everybody up to speed, about a year ago, we launched our beer, but this past year we've made all of our beer. We make it at Bitter Sisters Brewery in Addison. So we have what's called an alternating proprietorship with those guys, and so they were cool enough to let us hang out and make some beer and give us a little corner to store all of our stuff in. So yeah, that was kind of. Opening a brewery is a daunting task, and it's it's capital intensive, and so we wanted to find a way that we could kind of get out there and kind of get going without having to have the entire facility and everything. And so yeah, luckily, like I said, Matt. Well, there's actually 3 guys named Matt over there, so I can say the Matts. The Matts over at Bitter Sisters were cool enough to help us out in that regard. But yeah, I mean that was always the plan, was to get started. We're kind of limited on how much capacity that we have there, because we don't want to interfere with what Bitter Sisters is trying to do. But yeah, we've got a piece of it's actually a warehouse in West Dallas, and we've got it under contract, and we're just kind of waiting on a few things from the bank. If anyone's ever gone through a process like this, it is an immense amount of paperwork.
I can only imagine, especially with all the different regulations, and you have to have permits for this and that, and inspectors, I'm sure. So
yeah, but it's we're really excited about it. I think I think the location's really cool. I mean, we're a mile from downtown, so just right off of Commerce Street. It's in an area that's up and coming. So right now, I mean, I think one of our neighbors is does auto body repair. Another one is a construction company office. So like good current neighbors. Nothing wrong with with where it is, but there's apartments coming up, mixed use developments, mid-rise stuff, high-rise stuff. So I would really hoping that we can look back in a few years and just kind of look outside and see ourselves kind of in this semi-urban environment, because that's kind of where we wanted to be.
yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but last time we spoke, I think we talked about this the last time you were on the show. The way you were designing the brewery, you wanted to kind of have more of an
Community
outdoor kind of feel as well, just so you have an outdoor aspect to the brewery, and kind of keep some greenery. And
do we have the?
We should have some pictures queued up, I think.
Can you open the other document if you don't mind?
That chandelier looks like a hop.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It is a hop.
I like it.
Well, it's a chandelier.
It's a hop
That looks like-
chandelier.
It's a
Hop
real hop.
chandelier. What I do like about your thought process is that you want to be part of the community, not just where most breweries are on offset, like in a corner somewhere, and it's just you walk in and it's like, oh, there's a brewery here.
Well, I mean, man, I understand, because we had to go through a zoning process on this.
It's difficult. I'm
and-
not blaming any breweries.
Yeah,
by any
and
means.
it's so
No.
tough. And if we weren't in the position where we could actually operate, this alternating proprietorship with Bitter Sisters, I'm sure we couldn't make a lot of decisions that we've made. We couldn't say, yeah, we can wait 6 months for this thing to get rezoned, and so, yeah, it's there's enough going. I can see, like, yeah, because really as a brewery, I mean, your main customers, yeah, you got people that come in, but for the majority, I mean, you're looking at 90% plus is wholesale. So that's all the bars, the restaurants, the package locations and everything. So that's the majority of your business. So really, you're a wholesale manufacturer, like from
True.
a dollar's perspective. And so having people come out is great, but it's not what really gets the bills paid.
the bulk
So,
of it, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, like I said, we've had opportunity to
Think about
make
it.
some decisions we couldn't have made otherwise. So
Take your time with it, which is when you got opportunity for it, you take your time.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
That's pretty.
yeah, so yeah, we're looking at one of the exterior renderings, and so the warehouse is existing, and it's got the 3 large doors that face the street. So one of those will be replaced with glass or a glass door, and that's where the tap room is going to be. And then
Nice.
I don't know if you could see to the right of that, there was some additional doors, and that's where the beer garden is going to be.
Like the
So-
chairs, there was some like tree kind of outlooks.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. This better picture of it, right? Like the overview. We have an overview of it.
Yeah. So you can obviously see the parking. City of Dallas requires lots of parking. But yeah. So we've got the kind of the tan area, kind of towards the middle and the bottom there is where the beer garden is going to be. So yeah, it's
Very
it's
nice.
really kind of well integrated with the tap room, and then the tap room I feel like, which we'll see kind of when we go to look at some of the interior drawings, we can kind of see how those try to integrate it as best we could.
Oh, this is cool. Hold
Yeah,
on.
so this is kind of the layout. So if you look, the building's kind of divided into fourths, and vertically. So down the left-hand side is really kind of all storage and mechanical stuff. And then the middle 50% is where all the fermenters and the brew house and everything are going to be. And then the right-hand side is where the tap room
room's
is
at.
going to be. Yeah, and then, tap room, bathrooms. And then there's actually, above that tap room area, there's actually a mezzanine. So that's above there is where we're going to have all of offices and, employee area and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Very nice. So we're very excited, man. Like, we're big support behind you guys. As far we support every brewery, that we support local brewery, just periodly. We like everybody we've talked to, we've met, absolutely wonderful. But myself mostly. I mean, I don't want to speak for Andrew or Kirsty, but we look forward to having your brewery open up. It's something we've been following for a long time now.
Oh yeah. Do you guys have a ETA on when y'all are looking to get it all cemented and open? I know it's probably a long ways
Brick and
way.
mortar.
I've given some dates, in the past, and I realize it's probably just better to say 2018
There you go.
at
Yeah.
this point.
Hey, I mean, you're
Yeah.
I
learning.
like that.
That's like
Yeah.
like the movie industry coming
Generalize.
2018.
Fall of 2018.
We're
You
not
don't give a
sure
date
when,
yet. We
but-
know it's gonna be in the fall somewhere, the latter half.
Yeah, I mean, it's you try to obviously put as much influence on it as you can, but sometimes things just happen the way they happen, and
Oh yeah.
especially this is a fairly kind of complex deal. We're actually buying 5 separate lots, and then we have to kind of combine those all into a single lot.
Oh yeah. So there's
And
paperwork
so-
with each of those, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we've got some of kind of that stuff to do. So a lot of that's unpredictable. I mean, all I can say is we're pushing to get it done as quickly as possible. We want to get in there. We're tired of. I mean, like people are like, hey, I want this beer, I want that beer, and it's always out. Every time I go somewhere, it's out. And I'm like, I'm telling you, we make as much as we can.
That's a good thing, though. That's a
Yeah.
nice problem to have.
It's a good problem. It is
Everything
to solve.
is going out. Yeah.
I mean,
Awesome.
it's exciting stuff going on right here.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on and sharing that. Like, we will be there opening day. I promise that. Dallas Beer
yeah.
Talk in some fashion will be there.
Oh, awesome.
We'll
do
be
some sort of live.
we're live recording if
Live
we
record-
if
yeah,
we
that'd be
can
awesome.
do it. If not, we just be there as fans.
Right.
We will be there
yeah.
in support.
Oh, awesome! Thank you
Of
very
that,
much.
100%. Like I learned a lot from you today, just listening to you talk, taking notes. I'm like, I'm taking a lot of notes here, and then last time here, like it's just absolutely impactful, and I learned a lot, and I do appreciate
Well,
all the lessons you.
Man, I something I appreciate that you're not afraid to, because a lot of people, that's one of the things that I mean, I guess it's probably a good segue into the kind of the women in beer, which I think is
That's why I went. Yeah, perfect.
yeah. And I think that part of it is just the intimidation, right? Of just like someone from the outside that says, okay, all these people know all this stuff. I'm not even going to comment, right? It's like I have friends that I like watch football games with that are like obsessive, and I'm like, man, why did they run that play? And it's like, because they average 7.2 yards every time they run it. And I'm like, okay, man. So yeah,
Calm down, please. Hold on.
there's definitely like an intimidation factor. I try not to be that way. It's like, yeah, whatever. I do it for a living, so yeah, I know a little bit about it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's everyone's own taste, right? As you do it more and more and more, you essentially just get a better vocabulary. That's really all it is. You know, and maybe you can start to pick up on things a little bit more and kind of train your palate a little bit. For the most part, you're really just developing a vocabulary. I mean, taste is taste. You either like it or you
That's so
don't.
true. That's the best way to put it.
You open his
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah,
He needs a
again.
handy dandy notebook. Just be like,
Yeah, it's all about vocabulary. It's not about taste because you taste the same thing. You
Yeah.
just know how to describe it better at the end of it. And it's very true. And in a segue to that, because one of your passions we heard off air was introducing beer to women and being more comfortable drinking beer and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And it was never embarrassing for me because I've always been the type of person like I don't like beer. I don't drink beer. I drink liquor. I drink sweet stuff. I'm always been proud of that. It's nothing for me to hide. But when I wanted to do this, I was like, you know what? Just be honest. Like I don't know shit. Why fake it? Why fake it? Because they're gonna call me out on it at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
let's be
Yeah.
100% honest. But I would imagine it'd be different for someone, for anyone who's just not confident in that, or just doesn't know what to go or what to say. You know?
That's true. I mean, I guess being a female, we were talking about this, we have a better palate and nose than men, which is, he also said that can be offensive sometimes whenever you're trying something. On the sweet note, you know, I like to kind of describe beers to someone that doesn't know beer as like they're a food, I guess. Like,
Oh yeah.
like I've had the feisty blonde, it tastes like horchata, like, or you know, the prairie, a few prairie beers taste like chocolate. Oh gosh, what was it? The Okie Paradise was like a coconut cream pie with like chocolate drizzled on it. When you start describing it in those kind of ways, people are more apt to maybe try it. Because when you say it has like, oh yeah, it's coffee and chocolate, kind of bitter here and there, and they're like, what?
More like abstract concept versus
Yeah.
relating it more to like kind of food, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
food is so much more approachable, right? No
Mhm.
one,
Oh, yeah.
no one ever says like, no one ever says, "Hey, man, what do you think of this steak?" And no one ever says, "I don't know. I don't really know anything about steak."
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not a steak expert. I don't know the difference between choice and select, so I can't tell you if the
Exactly.
steak's good or not. And it's like, no, just tell you know.
Tell
eat
me
it,
what
tell me
you
if you like
taste.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's and it's easier. It's just easier that way. Like I had one, and it was at Thanksgiving. I had a few beers, but it literally tasted like a powdered donut with not frosted flakes, but fruity pebbles on top. And I tried it.
That
and I'm
sounds
like,
delicious.
oh my god, this is such a good beer, and it's called Far Out, which makes total sense because it was like a high snack like someone made. And
It's a high idea somebody had.
exactly. And I tried it, and I was just like, holy moly, this is crazy. And people were like, let me try it. My whole family was like, let me try it. And I'm like, here. They're like, whoa. You weren't kidding. I'm like, I know. It's a powdered donut with fruity pebbles on top. I don't know how else to explain this beer. So, I mean, when you explain it like that, people are going to be
It's
like,
true.
"Oh, let me try this beer. It's going to be tasty."
might be
Good way to drive interest, but yeah,
It is.
yeah, relating
It
it that
is.
way. That's
But it is a this is actually something that happened, and this is actually relevant because so yeah, we just had an accidental segue into our next beer,
Hey,
double Half Life.
Hey, let's do this.
So
I
double
love it.
Half Life is the bigger. Oh, it's that one over there.
Oh, this one. Sorry.
Yeah, it's the.
Boy, I can't drive home after this.
I'm
So I
late.
drank it all.
So when we launched a little over a year ago, we released a beer called Half Life, which is an unfiltered IPA. We call it an NE IPA, which is short for New England IPA,
Mm.
and so there's a bit of controversy about what you can call an NE IPA and what you can't. And there was
It's a big
I-
debate about that.
big
Mhm.
debate. I was just
Yeah.
on
Did you-
Facebook last night watching it.
Oh,
watching
gosh,
it.
I think
Watching it roll. It's actually they were talking about this beer, and yeah. So yeah, the kind of the beers that started the trend, you know, like some of the stuff from Trillium and Treehouse
Yes.
and all those.
There in Cali,
No, in Northeast.
or
like
sorry,
in
Massachusetts, right?
Massachusetts,
Yeah.
Vermont, somewhere in one of those states.
Mhm.
They are very, very cloudy. Like they look like
Mhm.
orange juice or grapefruit juice, and so this. You know, there's some criticism that this beer isn't as cloudy as those, and so
Not as hazy.
not
You
as
just
hazy,
did-
not hazy enough.
drop
But anyways, I mean, I just love that people are talking about it.
You-
I'm like, yeah, keep arguing about it,
Yeah.
guys.
I mean, so yeah. So to kind of speak on that, there's like a big debate that kind of goes back and forth about all that. But
So
I think at the
wait,
end of the
can
day,
I-
it kind of.
Can I jump into this? Like, no, I just want to know what's the debate about. Like, why does it matter how cloudy it is? Like, can someone explain to me? Like,
So-
Andrew, anybody? Like,
for some reason, whenever you think of like a New England IPA or a hazy, they call them hazy IPAs because they're hazy as fuck. Like that, you look at them and that's what
They're
you were
like
saying.
real
It's
cloudy, like you
opaque
can't see
and-
through them, kind of.
Yeah, and it reminds you of juice. And right now, there's just like this big juice
Like,
fad on
I'm-
IPAs right now.
Yeah, even cloudier than this.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, this is pretty cloudy.
No,
like,
this is not. This is halfway.
Think of like
This is- it's like-
can you,
think of
is
a
there a
glass
way
of
you can
orange
see
juice.
this? Like, can you look at like in my face and then like is there a way you can see
My
this
face.
beer? Like it looks pretty fucking cloudy to me.
Oh, I mean, no, I mean, yeah, it definitely
It is
but
cloudy, but
but
there's
it-
cloudier.
yeah, like think of it like I mean, maybe like a glass of orange juice, like that, like
It's that.
I don't know how to explain.
That
But
is,
so
no,
like
that's
pulpy.
Yeah, it is.
pulp, yeah, there you go. But so people are having this big
And
debate about over
floaters
all
and stuff,
that,
Yeah.
and they want hazy IPAs out here in North Texas and stuff, and people are going back and forth and da da da. But kind of to your point, I think it's cool because it kind of drives interest in craft beer in general. And so even though people are a very heated topic back and forth, it's still kind of almost pushing local brewers to kind of go sort of in that direction.
Yeah, and
kind of.
I mean the just like kind of, and at least I don't know, our semi-official response on this is because yeah, I think somebody said it's false advertisement was the actual, you know, and I said, and so I think this particular person said, well, you should just call it an American IPA, and I said, well, you know, like I'm thinking about, and because we went through this process when we were kind of thinking about this, and we said, yeah, I mean, it's not as cloudy, obviously. I mean, you don't have to be, you know, a genius to figure that out. But is it more honest to call it a New England IPA, or is it more honest to call it an American IPA? Or, you know, it's definitely not a West Coast IPA. And it's
No.
definitely not an East Coast IPA like Dogfish Head. I mean, so it was, I mean, we never brewed to style. I mean, not intentionally. I mean, we brewed to taste. I mean, I probably said that last time I was on here. We don't brew to style.
You said it
we
a few
brew to taste.
times. A few times.
It's on the back of the business card, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if that domain's available. We brew to taste.
We're about to find out. Hold on.
Ziggy, lock that down for him,
This
please.
beer is delicious, by the way.
Thank you.
I know,
It
I
is
want
so
to.
good. So good.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of IPAs. I'm not a big fan, but the reason why I learned to appreciate more beers and try to not just describe an IPA as I don't like it is an aspect of what you said last time. Is it's just a palate and is notes, and you all got to describe it the way and feel it out for yourself. This is again a perfect idea of why it's well balanced beer. You know, it's an IPA. You taste it from the jump and you smell it, but it's
What notes do you taste? I know that's a hard question.
it's
but
hard right now because I'm a mixture with this beer,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
right
yeah.
afterwards. So
You get it. Well, this is a nice palate cleanser too. Like when you're drinking too many of these beers, this actually helps your palate like reset. So
as of right now, it just feels like right now it just feels cleaner. It tastes
yeah, it
fresh.
is.
But as far as notes, I don't really taste anything because I'm still trying to clean out my.
Palate.
I didn't want to say it. Like it sounds very pretentious.
Okay.
It it's funny because it tastes cloudier than it looks. Does that make
Well,
sense?
yeah, that was that. So I'm gonna give a shout out to. Do you guys know Matt Dixon?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give a shout out to Matt Dixon because he had a hilarious comment last night. Someone said, "I can tell just by looking at it that the mouthfeel isn't right," and he said,
That's
"Oh
good.
man, you can determine mouthfeel by looking at a photo. That's baller, dude."
Somebody
So-
will pay you high
Yeah.
dollars somewhere.
I-
No, this is it's very I guess what you want to have a cloudy, and sometimes it tastes velvety, which is kind of a weird verbiage for an IPA because usually you have like a crisp feeling, but this one is very like velvety to the mouthfeel, which I love, and that you
Well, I mean,
definitely accomplished
I think it goes kind
a
of like
good North
like
any IPA.
yeah, like what we were saying earlier is that another kind of example that I use is that trends. I mean, it's similar like in fashion, right? In that, you know, like there's some high fashion show and there's models running down the runway with like feathers on, you know, half their face and
Yeah.
you know
The
some
weird looks.
weird stuff, right? And then some of those concepts trickle down into what we actually wear, and I feel like the beer industry is the same way. Like somebody comes up with some really out there wacky stuff, and then you know we say, hey, there's some aspects of this I like, and there's some other aspects I don't like. I mean, one of the tough things about you know, like most all these breweries sell the beers directly from the brewery. They don't sell them through distributors because they're too expensive. They can't make any money.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, if you've got a beer that, you know, a beer can or a 4-pack that you have to sell for $20 to $25 because that's the only way to be profitable, then, you know, that's kind of an issue. And so, from a shelf life perspective, you have that much, in there, you're not going to have a very good shelf life. And, it can impact shelf life and things. So anyways, I mean, and once again, we just kind of, we took what we liked about it and we made a beer. And
A great beer, by the way.
thank you.
Great
Very
beer.
fantastic beer. That's actually true because you always see when you were kind of alluding to like the fashion shows, you always see the girls wearing the real crazy get-ups and stuff. You never see a girl walking down the street.
Yeah.
Wearing like ridiculous stuff like that. So I know that's a very, very good way to put that. And that's
Okay,
that's
so
very nice.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Mhm.
Is it a fad?
The New England IPAs. I feel like once something comes out, people are still gonna love this style because I love the style. When it came out, it was just a really good, I don't know, punch in the face, but it was like a really good, like, just, hey, this is really fucking good beer and the way it's made and all of that. I think it's going to be a long-lasting fad, but it does kind of seem like one because, we have those staple, like, drinks, like the East Coast and the West Coast IPAs that everybody really, really loves and have loved forever. And the New England is just going towards it. What do you think?
I think it's the next generation of IPA.
You think so? Okay.
Can I ask a question? Like,
That's a good question.
can I
I mean,
ask-
not a good question.
I got a stupid question. Like,
Stupid. There's
New
no
Eng-
stupid question.
it is like an East Coast style IPA is New England still in Northeast, right?
So,
Like, what's going on with that? Like, is it not still in Northeast? Like, isn't that like East?
I mean, just specific. I mean, they're, people just pick names and,
New
it's like,
England.
the way
I don't
it
like
was-
appreciating anything from New England.
This is
Let's just
kind
start
of
there. Let's start there.
He is a New York Yankees fan.
Yeah.
Nice.
Preface with that.
I'm from New York City. That's why my name on here is King of Queens. I'm from New York City, and I don't like anything from Massachusetts and New England area.
Yeah.
Except for I think you are a fan of clown shoes.
I stand corrected. I am a big fan
I
of clown
only
shoes.
like one thing from.
No, a big fan of clown shoes. They make some of the best stouts I've tasted so far,
Yeah.
outside of Manhattan Projects.
It's not a stupid question.
So,
Stupid answer or whatever.
So
She's waiting to give you that piece of encouragement.
so I think to me the kind of back to the fad versus whatever. I think that there's some lasting. Yeah, will they be super cloudy? Always in a 16-ounce can, only bought from the brewery. Obviously, that's not like a sustainable thing. It's not something that will ever go widespread, right? But I mean, I think that some of the positive aspects is kind of that creamy
Citrus,
mouthfeel, that citrusy. A reduced bitterness, and then a move away from the kind of the caramel malt and more towards a drier malt.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, how we actually developed, we didn't set out, when we made Half-Life, we didn't set out to make a New England IPA. We set out to make an IPA that exemplified all of the flavors and aromas of the hops without being a palate wrecking, 80 IBUs, 85 IBUs. So we pulled.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so we
Same.
we pulled the bitterness way down, and we also didn't none of us I mean, most all of our beers are dry. I mean, obviously the stouts can have some sweetness to it, but it's on the dry end of where stouts usually range. So if you pull the bitterness back, and then you pull the sweetness back, you're kind of left with not a lot. And so you need to add something back, and so that's when we use wheat. Yeah, so we use wheat to provide because the wheat has some proteins in it, and that's what gives you the mouthfeel. And then some of the other, I mean, they're doing some crazy stuff. They're putting flour.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I was
their
going to ask you about
beer
that to make it
and-
hazy.
And then
I feel so
lukewarm
ignorant. Like, I'm
powder.
in. Wait, can I just get a real quick segue to this? Like, I'm sitting the whole time, and like he knows what's going on. I'm sitting like, yep.
He's the hophead.
Yeah,
you know? I mean,
I
come on,
know.
be real.
No, absolutely nothing was going on.
Well,
here.
ask,
Like,
ask us. What do you want
Yeah.
to know, man?
But what makes
You got to figure it out now.
No, I don't know shit.
So here's
So
like.
why would you guys think that is a why? I mean, it just is a good taste. I mean, for me, it's just a good tasting beer. Like,
Yeah.
Overall, it's just a good tasting beer. If this was from you guys or another style similar to this, like to me, this is just a good beer. I definitely still don't appreciate the level of hops. I'm leaning more to stouts and porters,
Yeah.
but I do appreciate that it's a good beer. But what makes you think that this style is more like it's long? For you, said it's gonna be a long lasting fad, and you said it's the evolution
Yeah.
of IPA. So what makes you guys think that?
And that's a good way to put it because once you were explaining everything, like the good factors of like the citrus and the juicy and the juice kind of like factor, I feel like that'll probably stay for a while. And
Well, I'd say like, okay, so one thing is 9 out of 10 hopheads love this style, and
Yeah.
then people who normally don't like IPAs love this style.
That's
So
yeah.
all of a sudden now you've got you're keeping 90% of your core audience, but then you're bringing in
grabbing
Yeah.
another people
like another 30% of the population. It's gonna be big.
because it won't be too
Yeah.
bitter and hoppy
Yeah.
where you're kind of driving out some of those other people, but you're bringing in kind of a little bit of both. So
Best
yeah.
of both worlds. I mean, it's a good way to put it. Like for me, again, perfect example is Andrew knows for a long time he's trying to find me an IPA that I like, and the honest truth is there's very few that I will say I like, but there's a lot that I'll say I appreciate. This is a beer, one of the few that I say I like. I will drink it.
Nice.
I will drink it. Like in the early days. in the early days of me describing beer was the best way for me to describe beer because I didn't know what it is to describe was, will I drink this by the pool? Will I drink this if I'm hanging out with friends? Will I drink this if someone passed it to me? How upset would I be to
Yeah.
drink this?
IPAs are
I'ma
definitely
drink
one
it.
to pull.
Hey, you should never be upset if somebody's passing you alcohol. So
If you're
Yeah.
passing it to me, I'm gonna be like, yo, you know I don't like this, right?
Let me
It
just
tastes
check it
horrible,
instead.
but I'm gonna
Yeah.
drink it
yeah,
because you got it for me.
You know,
But-
that brings up a good point because like I liked IPAs, and then once I tried a double IPA, they put more malt. They put more of a sweet. Like they don't. What do they do?
No. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
And I'm shaking my head because I don't like the malt. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, well, you
Go
know.
with it. Go with it. Talk about it.
I dig it, and like whenever I was getting into IPAs, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I do love IPAs, but then I kind of graduated to a double IPA and a triple IPA, and it's really interesting because the IBUs are like so high, but then you have this malt backbone, and you taste a totally different thing, and it kind of goes into like the wheat and the stuff that you put in it too.
Yeah.
And I started leaning towards like triple IPAs, which is outrageous because the IBUs are off the charts. And
But that's
and
what you
being
get
a
bang for your
girl,
bucks.
yeah, I know. It's just
Get bang
it's
for your buck.
really funny just to think about all that. What is I'm seeing your face over there, and I'm just
Oh no,
interested in what.
I'm like just I'm thinking through some of some of the double and triple.
Mhm. Like,
I've never had a
outrageous.
triple IPA. I didn't even know that was a thing
So
until
they're
this
sweeter.
moment.
They're sweeter, and you're gonna get more of that.
Maybe I
sweet-
would like it,
I
'cause-
think. I
So
think
I like
you
stouts.
would.
I like sweet drinks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why I gravitate to stouts. I drink rum and Coke. I'm Puerto Rican.
But you don't like the bitter though, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
you're gonna
Isn't
get more of the bitter
yeah.
goes. So the IBUs.
No,
is
the
It
bitterness-
goes up
the
and then-
bitterness.
Here's the thing. I like the sweet and I like the bitter, but it depends what type of bitter. Like I didn't
Yeah.
like coffee bitter up until I found out that I could get that shit out of there and I could have black
Yeah.
coffee. I don't like coffee bitter, but I do like sour drinks sometimes. I like sour things. I like
Well,
sweet
sour
things.
and bitter are definitely distinct flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's just dumb too. I kind of felt like that's on the same spectrum. Bitter and sour kind of on the same spectrum to me. I don't know if that's true.
Maybe
I
we'll
don't know if
grab a
that's
tri- we'll
true.
grab a
Have you had
triple
a sour?
IPA.
Yeah.
No, I don't like sour drinks. I actually hate sour drinks. Like
Okay.
sour beers are absolutely disgusting.
You haven't had the right one.
I've had
You haven't had the right one.
Eagle Tears all the way to like
That's
the
okay.
the Gozas,
That's the
whatever
Gozas, yeah,
whatever
yeah.
bullshit.
You
I don't know.
you gotta. So the Goza is just kind of like this salty little
Salty,
entrance baby, and once you get into these fruited sours, you're gonna be like, holy moly, this is a fucking good beer because they do these amazing things with fruits and like
Well, I've
Cantillon.
had it. I've had it before because
You were pretty big. I thought you enjoyed the cup of beer.
yeah.
I
Oh,
was
the
actually
ramen.
about to bring that one up,
That one's
yeah.
so
Yeah.
good.
I was gonna
So-
say that Chanel.
Strange
when
beer,
the
that's for
first
sure.
first bunch of sours we had on the show was Chanel with
Abita.
Abita. She came in with a bunch of different sours from a bunch of different breweries, and
You're doing it.
there's some that I dig. I'm not saying like there's gonna be something for everybody.
Yeah.
In any spectrum.
You just have
But-
to know what you like.
I just really don't think. I don't think that's a good beer.
The beauty of it is you may not have found what you like,
Mm.
but on the positive side, you could drink a whole lot more beer to figure out what you like.
Right.
So, I mean, hey, they
That's
can't
the
go
point
wrong
of the
with that,
show.
right?
That's the point of the show.
I love it. You're
get
fun
kinda
to
Yeah.
like teach and stuff. It's
I mean,
exciting.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I describe things stupidly,
So-
and I don't
so-
know shit.
The thing about Victor that like we have people on the show, and sometimes he can kind of come across as like, nah, I'm all about this, but he's got a very like absolute like black or white, like I love it or I hate it kind of thing. And
I
so
know, I
like
try not to do
this
that.
is trash. I'm always trying to like mellow him out and mediate him like a little bit more middle of the road, kind of stuff. So
I hate IPAs, but this IPA is delicious.
Yeah.
I
So-
really try not to. Like he's helped me out a lot with my description of like not being as very like fuck that or yeah I'm with it. Like I'm
Yeah.
more in the middle of things. Lately, I in my head that's how I think.
Mm.
It's and it just is part of where I'm from and how I grew up. It's just like, yeah, I'm with you 100%, or I'm not.
And you're very steadfast in your position of what it is you're about, or what this. And
But I feel bad
we're
afterwards.
chipping away, and
I
then
feel,
we're gonna be like,
you know, the first brewery we had on, and the best example of me feeling bad afterwards was Penny Colas. They came on
I
a
love
show.
the
I'm like,
guys.
yeah, this beer's not good.
Oh,
no.
It's not a good
He
beer.
did not say that. He said he was like, I can see what you're trying to do with it, but I probably wouldn't buy it. I think that's how. He
But it
phrased
came off like I saying I don't like this shit.
Yeah, basically.
That's how it came off, and they're looking at me like,
And I'm over here like, I enjoy it. He does not speak for me. I want
Right?
that to be said.
and it's growing. You know, people grow.
Yeah.
People learn.
We'll
your,
see.
your palate changes.
It did.
I like saying the word.
It
I'm just
well,
not saying it.
you know what really happened? My biggest fear, a lot of things, of learning things like wine and beers and things like that. My biggest fear was meeting people who are assholes, and I'm always ready to meet an asshole, and I'm always ready to argue with somebody, and that speaks volumes of who I am, right? But I'm
The
ready.
New Yorker.
I'm ready to fight you on anything.
Or is it the Puerto Rican one?
If both.
That's a deadly combo.
Oh,
That's a
it's
deadly
like
combo.
really bad. But what made my idea of changing and trying to be more respectful is the people. Meeting people like you, meeting Penny Colas. They were absolutely everybody I've met up to this point has absolutely been wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just very honest with them, and they're very honest with me. Like, oh, you don't know much about this? Well, this is the style I like, and this is why I like it, and this is why people tend to like it, especially people like you who know a lot about the brewing process and know a lot about taste, and it just helps, and everybody's just real respectful. So when I got that energy back to me, I'm just like, you know what? Let me be more respectful and be like, okay, let me understand what I'm tasting, how I'm tasting it.
Yeah, and I mean we're also connected with the customers and with you guys and everything. So, I mean, yeah, we hear, and now especially social media, right? You see it on Facebook, you see it on Untappd. I mean, like at first when I started looking at Untappd, I was, you know, I kind of, it would kind of get to me, and I'd say, well, why didn't they give that, you know, why'd they give that beer one cap, you know?
Yeah.
And everyone loves that beer. What are they, you know? And then
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know what? They gave it one cap because they want to give it one cap. I mean, you know what?
It's
And
not
that's,
change it, yeah.
yeah. And so, I mean, we, you know, we look at it and go, yeah, man, like people are really talking about this, you know, especially when you have as limited production as we have, we're trying to figure out what it is, you know, people want the most. I mean, so it's not like, you know, it's like, hey, should we make more Atomic Alliance, which are Pina Colada IPA? Should we make
had
Black
the
Madness?
show.
Well, which was absolutely delicious, by the way.
We had
I
ourselves
think it
a
was
growler of
episode 35, 34. I gotta look on that, but look between anyway in the mid 30s.
We had a nice big old we had a nice big old growler. I had missed the like first two tappings of it, I think. And my barber let me know that there was they had like another keg on at Taps and Caps, and I was like, oh, let me go over there real quick and get me some. So
Yeah,
Barber, that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
that was a pretty
Shout out to
awesome.
Poncho.
That was a pretty awesome experience. I mean, you know, those guys are real. I mean, they're real passionate about what they do, and because I think their passion kind of shines through, and people get on board with them, and so you know they promoted the launch of that beer, and we promoted it too, and I mean got a great crowd out there, and we went through 2 full-size kegs in
Oh, wow.
like an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a really
really good beer.
So I mean,
Thank you to Poncho for helping us out. Thanks for Andrew
Yes.
for getting that. Thank you guys for making it. But I have a segue to a story that we've been dying to know for a minute now.
here it comes.
We've been following you guys, the Bearded Lady, for a minute now on social media, and she made a live video talking about a bet she made. And I thought it was a brewery, but apparently it was a guy in Philly.
Yeah, so this he's like a sports fan, so
Okay.
and a beer fan, and I've been on his page a few times. Just kind of, he's been able to promote the Bearded Lady on, I guess it's just like beer and sports. So, he basically, well, I posted the awesome picture with the Eagle Tears and my Dallas Cowboys shirt because obviously I'm from Dallas and I have to support the boys
Represent.
even when they piss us off.
That's fine.
Unfortunately.
I know, right? It's okay.
Unfortunately,
Love
yeah.
the Cowboys. So yeah, and the picture went crazy. Everybody was like, "Well, those are not my tears. You're gonna be your tears soon," and all this kind of stuff. Which thank you, Noble
accommodating.
Ray. Yeah, and thank you, Noble Ray, for making a sick like artwork and everything like that for that beer. And so yeah, he basically hit me up and was like, "We will pose with eagle tears if the Dallas Cowboys win, and we'll post a picture, but you have to." I don't even want to say it. you have to post a picture holding #DallasSucks.
Which is the name of their beer.
Yeah, which is the name of a beer from, I can look it up in a second, of a brewery over there. And
Some pointless
yeah,
Philly
right,
brewery.
some Philly brewery that I'm going to have to pose with. So, and lo and behold, Dallas lost, and Philly did a great job at beating our asses.
Which, if you think about it, was a very sly way of her getting a free beer.
Right.
So
Hey, six pack, actually. I know. They sent the whole six
well,
pack
I'll
down.
come help and pose with you.
Right. And be like, But yeah, so now I have to post a picture on my Instagram in Dallas holding Dallas Sucks. All right, guys. It's Weyerbacher.
So-
Dallas
so-
Sucks.
Yeah.
Can you? So the slogan of this beer was probably my favorite part of it. I
Dallas
don't.
Sucks.
No, the eagle tears.
Yeah.
It says it won't leave rings on the table.
Yeah, because come on,
Because-
we got 5.
And they have
right?
zero.
Well,
Yeah,
I wore the
so-
shirt here on the show.
I have the shirt too.
Well, we were there when we both got the
So
shirt.
we met, yeah. We were
Yeah.
like, we're waiting for shirts. Hey.
Hey, I know you. Do you have an Instagram page? Bearded lady? She's like, yeah. It's like, Dallas Beer Talk. It's like, she looked at me like, I think I know you. I was like, yeah, you don't know my face because I don't
You're not
post
that,
my
you're not
face
that
on there.
level. You're not that level
Right.
yet.
Please.
You'll get there.
It's sadly 200-300 followers, nothing compared to 21.
Well,
21,000.
Thank you. It was hard work. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
It's true.
Definitely hard work. You have to get in there and start liking and commenting. I mean, you just
I
have
think I
to
just
go
need to
out
show
to
my
the
face
field.
more. I think
Yeah.
it is me and just show my face
Yeah,
more.
just a beer. This is exactly
Beer-
what I
beer
do.
in
I
my
just do
face.
this.
A little bit of this.
Like
know?
literally, that's it. That's all I do.
Let me work on my eyebrows
Yeah.
and, you know,
oh yeah,
I got
always
it.
do the little and the heart shaped glasses. That's the
Yeah, I
classic,
think that-
classic Jennifer or the
You
bearded
know
lady.
what? I think you should just go through her Instagram and just copy,
Re-
literally like reenact
We had to
every
get like a
photo.
low cut shirt
Shot
and kind of
for
be like
shot.
this
You
number.
know,
like all
here's
the
the
other,
deal.
you just be like,
People act like I don't have any shame in my game. You think I won't wear a low cut shirt
Hey.
with some glasses and the same beer and the same post?
hey,
Like, I will do it.
we'll
It
take
will
a
not
picture
be.
together.
It will not be as sexy, but I will.
Who
I
knows?
will
Someone
do
will
it.
like it.
Right.
I mean, there's somebody will love me out there.
There is a guy out there that I just recently found, or people message me. It's really weird. He literally poses. He literally poses with the beer in his crotch, naked, like with no pants.
Oh, so it's
And
like
so
it's
like the beer.
censoring-
Yeah, the beer's like right there, and you're like, I
Oh,
don't.
man.
I can see. No, I can't. No, okay. So I don't know how many followers he has.
I'm trying to picture.
Wait,
like,
I don't
what
want to
his-
see
I'm
that.
trying to picture what his handle is for Instagram.
I don't
Like
remember.
crotch craft. Like,
Long
what is
beer?
that?
Penis.
I
Crafty
don't know.
penis.
Crafty
Captain
penis.
Penis is way better than long beard. That's what I said. But
But
way
it was
better.
very strange. Someone's gonna like it.
But
though.
somebody's gonna like it. It's out there for somebody. But
It's very
perfect
niche.
thing.
Niche.
Andrew's been
No,
taking
it's
care
very
of the
niche.
Instagram. Andrew's been taking an Instagram page and doing a successful job, by the way, of handling, getting our followers up, and being interactive. But he showed me some of these pictures of these beer babes out there,
Yeah.
and a lot of them is just ass and titties. And then the offsuit is the beer, like in the corner somewhere, maybe right next to the ass and titties is the beer. I'm like,
That's always like
is
a
that just
hard.
to give someone an excuse? You're like, oh no, honey,
it's all about the beer.
It's about the beer.
This is a really, and then some of them do have really good beers they're with, but it's just so
Yeah.
like cliche, like just throwing it out there,
Titties
sex
and
sells
beer,
kind of
yeah.
stuff.
But one of them was the worst. Was like something with titty and beer name kind of combination. I
Craft
can't
and
remember.
Booty. There's one that's Craft and Booty, but
no,
they repost everything.
but this is one girl, and the name was a pun on titties and beer, and it's just something along those lines. And Andrew was showing me. I was like, I really don't want to look at I don't want to look at this page. Like, why?
Really, I love looking at them.
Yeah.
It's like I love looking at these girls' pages.
I mean, yeah,
These are my
there's
favorite.
well, off of the beer subject.
I mean, I like looking at it too, but as far as like we're talking about business, I'm just like, I don't want to look at that. Like, it's not. Why would I want to communicate with her? There's nothing about that. I would say
Yeah.
like, come on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I can see how that can be an issue because then, I mean, they would have to be like half naked sometimes to come
I
on
mean-
the show.
I mean,
because
I have
that's
no
like
problem
what
with
they
that.
do.
I have no problem with that, but it was like, this
changes
is
his tune.
Right,
it's a
it's
kind
like-
of a family show, and I want to like bring more
Kind of
people.
a family show.
Except you, Cuz.
This is a family show here. Hey, what were you saying, Carl? You were
Lies.
oh yeah, I was just the trend is interesting. I mean, there's like someone on Instagram that all she does is like take pictures of her butt in yoga pants, right?
Mhm.
And she has like over a million
Yeah.
followers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Joe Rogan talk about that many times on his podcast. many times.
I think we have Joe slated next week to come on. Is that what
I
we
think,
have?
Joe, next time
Please.
Joe Rogan's
Joe,
in Dallas,
please.
he's coming on the show. We talked about this already. Big
One
fans of
day.
Joe Rogan. But yeah, this girl, but it's a business. It's a business. People
is.
could advertise whatever they want and be a business of it.
Mhm.
She made it a business to sell yoga pants, and she promotes that. She works out hard. She does the best she can, but she fits in within her realm of what she's doing: yoga pants and yoga tight outfits.
And at
Well-
some point, it's kind of cliche, but at the same time, it's kind of smart. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
you can hate all you want, but
I mean, cam
Results.
girls make money. Have you
Results.
guys like seen the
There's
cam
a documentary
girls?
about
I
that.
mean,
There's
a
yeah,
documentary.
I love
Yeah.
that documentary because
Yeah.
it kind of like should I be a cam girl? No, I shouldn't be a cam girl. It kind of gives you a weird insight of what's going on in that world, and some of these definitely a business to be said about, like, or a thing to be said about that business, because you can
Yeah.
make money.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can
make a lot of money.
decent
Listen.
money. Strippers make a lot of money.
Listen,
true.
Like,
well, that's only because they're paying to go to like medical school. They're
yes,
paying
true.
away.
you're right.
The whole
You're
time.
right. A
Well,
lot, a lot
mean,
of
Yeah,
them
law
do.
school's
Law
expensive.
Yeah.
law school is expensive.
shit.
Nursing school is also very expensive. Listen, anything medical is expensive.
Yeah.
You got to go to school for that. But here's the deal. Here's the funny thing about it. You guys don't know me very well, like me growing up, just outside of the show. But my only goal growing up out of high school was I have no options. I coming out of high school, I could
Perceived options.
I couldn't read. I was illiterate up until my senior year of high school. Like, so, like, what am I doing with my life until I learned how to read? And I was like, I have options, but like, I can't read. All I got is my body. I was like, you know what's my lifetime goal at 17? Male gigolo. Let's do
Hey,
this. I was gonna be a male gigolo. I tried my hardest too. I tried to break into the high end of male gigolos. I wasn't trying to be in the ghetto.
But
as a
you
male
know,
gigolo.
at least
Hell
you had
yeah.
an idea. Like I didn't know what I want to do. I still don't know what I want to do necessarily.
I just
I'm
know
like,
what I
I don't
kinda
know what
do
to be when I
eat.
grow up.
No, I didn't know what I was gonna be when I grow up. I just couldn't eat. Like, what can I do? I can sell
you
my
just
body.
want to be a
I
chicken.
can sell my body. I can do this.
Funny enough, his
Girls think
problem,
about that all the time.
his problem, too much jiggle, not enough low.
Oh,
Damn, this is true. That's why I cannot be a male gigolo right now. Side note to that, we have a upcoming holiday special for Christmas and New Year's. We're planning to work it out, see if it comes through. But on that note, we have a special Christmas beer we have here.
Yeah, I'm trying to chug
Yes.
your beer.
What's going on with this? What is this? What
So
kind of beer is this?
This is a beer that was inspired by the awesome folks Todd and Robert over at Craft and Growler down at Fair Park. I think actually the first growler bar in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. So, Todd bought the Craft and Growler not too long ago. About I guess it was maybe less than a year ago, and he's a big fan of Belgian beers, and so we said, hey, let's help us come up with some ideas for a beer. So we have this Belgian strong ale, and it's kind of inspired by sort of like Christmas cookies or sort of ginger snaps. It's got a little bit of molasses
that.
and ginger, and then the Belgian yeast obviously brings in some
Manners.
what's that?
The nanners and the bubble gum.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
I
Yep.
said manners.
No.
Brings in some manners.
Brings manners in. I'm just kidding.
Yep, and it's so this beer has not launched yet. So
Oh.
you guys are getting a special treat.
Yo,
Dun, dun,
hey!
dun.
And before I
Okay.
forget, it launches on December 8th, sometime in the evening. I tried to get a definite time, and I was told in the evening. So
You gotta be
call it
vague.
6.
Nighttime.
Let's go
December
after work.
8th. So yeah,
After work.
next Friday, like
Uh,
not this coming Friday, but next Friday at Craft and Growler.
You just
So-
play it
Nice.
safe. It's 2018. It'll be here.
No, he'll be here. He'll be here in 2017. In 2017, after work next Friday.
I like that joke. That was funny.
It was
Yeah,
a great
so
joke.
You might have to
our-
excuse me. I'm gonna have to take a picture for
No, let's
the
take a- let's-
gram.
let's do it.
Well,
Take-
no, I'm sorry. I have to take a picture by myself. Do you realize? Have you seen a picture of myself, like with anybody else on the?
I mean, we have a brewery, right? Brewery. He's the whole
Oh.
brewery.
Oh, it's right here. I'm just gonna be sporting it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just gonna be here awkwardly.
No, I'm gonna
taking a
pour the beers.
picture
Don't worry
of the
about it.
beer.
Go do what you gotta do. I'm gonna pour the
So-
beers.
Oh no, I have
as
to
you-
get the beer.
Yeah. Let her see the whole thing.
Gosh.
So
Gosh.
okay. So are we able to get a name for it?
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called Christmas Coalition.
Christmas Coalition.
Christmas
Okay.
Thank
Christmas
you.
Coalition.
Very
Mm.
nice. So I've been wondering, and this is kind of just completely going a whole 180 on this, but so the Manhattan Project, obviously dealing with like nuclear weapons and that sort of stuff. do you have a take on the whole North Korea,
Shit.
U.S. kind
Bro.
of stuff going on? I'm
Had
just
to
no,
go
I'm just
there.
very curious.
Political.
I thought about the not political. I was thinking about this morning. I was like, I wonder if there's any kind of like going to be any up and coming inspired names or
No.
beer styles because of
You know, so the name, the name to us represents something a little bit different. Is like you often hear people say, "Oh, this is like," they might talk about a beer like. This beer is like an IPA on steroids, right?
Yeah,
When they say on steroids, they're not, endorsing anabolic steroids, right?
true.
And
very
so we kind of feel the same way. Like to us, the Manhattan Project there was a very complex, thing that needed to be solved, or that's the way that the leaders of the time saw that needed to be do. And so they brought different levels of expertise together to kind of solve this problem. And so we kind of see ourselves, not that we're
Endorsing
180 IQ physicists that were actually involved in the Manhattan Project, but between me and Jeremy and Misty, we all have what we bring to the table, and we feel like that is what helps us to be successful in what we do. Is that we each have our own kind of skill set, and so we kind of see it as the three of us coming together.
Yeah.
And then we're also just big fans of science, and we think people should study science and be interested in science.
I
Yeah.
love
Facts.
science.
The Manhattan
So-
Project is like a really actually like the whole story behind the group and all the great minds coming together to solve that problem. It actually is a really good story. All like aside from the whole, what the actual weapon did, but it's actually a really interesting story. So, but
Yeah,
I thought about the whole.
it's something, as
History is
as
very-
American, it's something we have to live with. It's something that happened, and
You
it's
should
something
know
we have to
more.
live with, so.
We should definitely know more. At the end of the day, history is very important. But I need everybody to taste this beer. Tell me what they think. Beer lady first because she's taking pictures. No,
Call out.
no,
Oh,
no.
wow.
This is strictly,
Ooh, so good.
uh,
Yeah.
it's very, very. It sounds. I hate saying the same word over and over again. Like smooth, balanced.
Well, that's kind of. I think that's their trend. Manhattan.
I know,
is
but I hate
like
saying the same
doing-
thing.
Well,
But
that's what we've been saying.
that's
Like
the
every time we
staple-
talk about them on the show, we're like, man,
Well, no,
It's so-
so I keep talking about this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna write a blog post that's gonna be something like 12 things you can say instead of smooth. Just because
I think
Rob
that-
Thomas.
Velvety.
Suave. This is very
velvety.
suave.
Suave. I like
Velvet?
velvety
yeah,
and suave.
velvety, creamy mouthfeel.
Yeah.
I don't know. No,
like,
not creamy mouthfeel. I'm not saying that.
even
It's
finish.
a thing. It's a thing.
I'm not saying
People
that.
understand creamy mouthfeel, okay?
Some
I'm
people
not-
do.
I am not
Some
saying
people do,
cream.
people don't.
I'm not saying cream mouthfeel. No offense.
You just
no
said it 5
offense.
times.
He's not saying it. Not when I'm describing the beer. I'm not saying it.
Wow.
But
No, you that's I feel like this is what you can kind of have you ever heard, like music, for example. That's stupid. I sound like a crazy
but
person.
music is also
But
to
music-
the taste, like to the
It
the
is.
ear.
Like,
Sounds
you
weird
know when
saying
it's
it.
Red Hot Chili Peppers when you hear it. You don't even have to be told that it's Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know it's Queen when
They
you
have a
hear
sound.
it. You know it. They have the sound. When someone
But they all just mimicking Prince.
establishes, rest in peace. Pour one out, buddy.
That's my favorite artist.
With beer, it's kind of similar. Breweries create this amazing, I guess, staple or like how they want to make their beers, and you always know
Mhm.
where that beer comes from. I've gotten to the point that I'm like, sometimes now if you like blindfold me, it's gonna be kind of hard. But like, if someone's like, oh yeah, that's a so and so, I'm like, no, I can taste it. That's definitely,
But
or I can
everybody
kind of
has a
pick out,
style.
yeah.
Exactly.
And you can taste how they make their beer. It's a great thing. Just
And
like
this-
music.
This is why we love everybody having you guys on here. I do appreciate you coming on here
Yeah.
and enjoying this experience with us.
Oh yeah.
I do appreciate you coming on here again. Like you're forever welcome. Like I said, opening day of your brewery, you're gonna be here. But we're gonna wrap this up. Unfortunately, I wish we had another hour.
What?
I wish we had
Okay.
another hour, but I'm gonna start over here with Manhattan Projects. Like, where can people find you besides your website? Like anything coming up, anything you want to plug in real quick, where they can find you.
I'm terrible at this part, so I'll just stick with the one that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, come out to Craft and Growler next Friday after you get off work. Drink some Christmas Coalition. Go easy on it. It's 10.5%.
10.5%.
Oh.
Listen, it's December 8th. After work, come drink some.
Have as much as you like within the reasonable legal limit.
Legal
Mhm.
limit. You
Yeah.
will be drunk after one, so just drink one or multiple. I'm not saying take a cab home. I'm not. I'm not promoting drinking.
Uber. Come on, it's 2017.
Yeah.
We Uber.
Uber cab is the same thing. Anyway, Jennifer the Beer Lady, listen, what's going on with you? What anything you want to plug in real quick?
Just check out the blog at the
The
Bearded-
advent calendar coming up.
Oh yeah, I do have the advent calendar. Thanks for reminding me.
Gotcha.
So I guess this Friday I get to start opening my advent calendar, which is 25 days until Christmas. I know.
Advent calendar
Yeah.
of beer.
A beer.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, my beer advent
We
calendar.
were gonna post something about that, but yeah, boom, we're gonna support you and promote your
Hell yeah.
advent calendar.
Yeah,
So-
I made it. It was really crafty, and I'm not crafty.
and we will support you on
Thank
this.
you.
And
Yeah.
if you want to, we could come on again to the show and talk about it.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
And try some of the beers
Actually.
you tried on it.
Yeah,
So let's
they're
knock
all
that out.
Christmas flavored. I have some like little pop ups in there that are gonna be random, but I mean most of them are very. I wish this was in a bottle. 'cause
I'll say
that would
this
be
is,
we will-
delicious.
the first-
One day
The
soon.
honorary
This is
sponsor.
a preview to the Christmas advent calendar.
for 2018.
Day -2. Yeah.
For 2018, the next advent calendar. But listen, we're gonna wrap this up. You can find me and Andrew always on Dallas Beer Talk website, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And then we got the man, the myth, the legend. I apologize, we did not have him more on the show.
Ziggy.
Ziggy.
What's up, Ziggy?
Guys, you can catch me every Thursday at 8:30 at the Backdoor Comedy Club. You can catch me every Saturday at 8 and 10:15 at the Backdoor Comedy Club, except this Saturday because I'm taking my dad to a German beer hall in Fort Worth for his birthday.
Ooh.
But I've got a real plug this week, guys. I'm pretty excited about it.
Is it a real one?
Yeah, it's a real one. I'm pretty excited. Last week, we just wrapped a shoot. I got to work with Tom Hanks and Billy D. Williams.
Oh
it
my
was like a dream
God.
come true. It was really exciting.
Wow.
It's a movie where Tom Hanks plays the quarterback of the Bears, but he's behind enemy lines in World War II. So I have to work with Billy D. Williams to go rescue him so that he can start his next game.
Uh-huh.
It's called Saving Private Brian's Song, and I'm pretty excited about it. So
And this is why we love Ziggy, the man who does 1,000 things.
Yep.
Listen,
Best.
I love you guys. I appreciate you guys watching all the way through. This is Dallas Beer Talk. I appreciate all our guests here today.
Yes.
Listen, this is always a lesson learned from you guys being on here, especially from you. I love you for being on here. I appreciate it. And Dallas, the Dallas Beer Babe. No.
Oh my God.
Wow. Excuse
Wow.
me.
I stopped myself. Anyway, I stopped myself. We're out of here. I stopped myself. It's
Cheers.
Jennifer the Beer Lady. Jennifer the Beer Lady.